What's up, everybody? The Cyclone Fanatic Postgame Report presented by Carl Chevrolet. If you're looking to buy a newer pre-owned vehicle, Carl Chevrolet and Ankeny, Carl Chevrolet of Stewart, the perfect places to do that. You can check them out online at carlchevrolet.com, carlchevroletstewart.com. Iowa State with a 38-31 win over the Baylor Bears tonight at Jack Trice Stadium to move to 5-2 overall, 5-1 in Big 12 play, 5-1 in Big 12 play for the first time, well, conference play, I guess, for the first time in program history. Bring in Rob Gray now. And Rob, I mean, obviously this is a game that was far from pretty. Cyclones looked, the first half was as close to a disaster as you probably could get. But at the end of the day, you're able to walk away with a win and put yourself in a pretty dang good position heading into the last bye week that Iowa State will have this season in sole possession of first place in the Big 12.
Yeah, we're once again to the stage of the season where Coach Campbell brings up are we pretenders or contenders, which we've heard in the past. And boy, in that first half, they sure looked like pretenders. But I think the mark of a contender is you overcome that. And man, they found a way. And you know, it's remarkable. I looked it up, and the last time they overcame a quarterback throwing 3 interceptions and winning a game was in the month of September in 2011 when Steele Jansen did 3 picks against UConn, and they came back and won. And that's a long stretch. And to overcome 4 turnovers, essentially 2 of them were pick sixes. I mean, thank God for Kene Nwangwu's speed. But, I mean, that's guys make plays. Landon Akers block punt. Kene's great kickoff return, as you asked Coach Campbell. Once again, kind of one of those plays of the game. You know, great teams find a way to win these games, and that's what the Cyclones did tonight.
Absolutely, man. And I think that those interceptions that Brock threw in the first half are where we'll go next. And if Brock Purdy has played a worse first half in his college career or worst half in general in his college career than he did in the first half tonight, I don't remember it. I mean, I think that was probably as poorly as we've seen Brock play for an entire half stretch. Finished that first half 6 of 12 with 3 interceptions and for only 56 yards. And then he went on to finish the game 15 of 24 with 3 interceptions, 164 yards and 3 touchdowns. And, you know, I asked Matt Campbell during the press conference, there was a point after Brock threw his 3rd interception, which was a pick 6. You know, what did he tell? He pulled Brock aside on the sideline and had a conversation with him. I asked what he told Brock in that moment, and it was just that you have to keep going, you have to keep playing, and adversity is going to hit, but just keep doing your job and don't try and do too much. And I think that we saw once Iowa State's offense got back on the field in the second half, Brock looked like he was not trying to force things quite as much, and he just looked a lot more comfortable in doing what we know Brock can do, you know. And I think that this is just further proof of this team. Like, they are just going to keep on fighting, you know. And I wrote last week about the, you know, not playing with your food and and all that kind of stuff and having that killer instinct. But man, these guys just keep on punching. They just keep on playing regardless of what the scenario is. And you know, I think Brock's play tonight is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think Oklahoma State last year comes pretty close with the 3 picks, I believe, pretty early. But key difference, they didn't come back and win that game. They made it close, but they lost by a touchdown. When they absolutely needed to clutch up, they did it tonight from Mike Rose, who the interception where he just read Brewer completely. I mean, that's a game time touchdown. Do they go for 2? Do they, you know, try to? I don't know. Given what they been through this year with an overtime loss, all their losses by single digits this season, even though they're 1-4, they might have gone for 2, and who knows what happens there. You know, I just think, like you said, emblematic of a champion spirit, right? To come back and make the plays. He was so good with his legs tonight too. 55 yards, season high, a couple of big ones. And again, Mike Rose and the killer instinct. I mean, you're seeing a team go back to week 1. Wow.
I've never heard a phone ring in here before, but this is crazy right now. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, it won't stop. But you know, going back to week 1, remember Chase Allen in the post game after what Louisiana had ground out, like all running plays to, to close the game. A very disappointing loss, but Chase Allen just made a point to say, don't panic. We're not panicking. And we heard that again tonight, and we see it throughout this team. They find a way to stay cool. They find a way to make plays when they have to. And again, we saw that on full display tonight.
For sure. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, like the nonstop ringing phone. It just kept going.
Right. And, Coach Campbell has talked about each of the last 2 weeks about Mike Rose and said that if there's a better defensive player in the country right now, he doesn't know who it would be. And again, talk about someone who answers the call time and time again and has done so for his entire career tonight. Mike Rose, 11 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hurries, and of course the game-sealing interception. That kid, he's done it week in and week out since he made his first start against Iowa as a true freshman 2 years ago. And, I think I'm getting to the point. I have to agree with Matt Campbell. I know there's a lot of great players in the country, but Mike Rose might be one of the more underappreciated. And that's a guy who tonight not only played like a first-team All-Big 12 player, but Mike Rose played like an All-American. And some of the plays that he was able to make, obviously there were some issues that the defense had at times. I think that they had some trouble with the field and slipping around on the field at a couple different points. But that's a kid who came up and answered the call and was able to make a play when his team really needed him to. He is living up to the billing that his coach is giving him here week after week and did again tonight.
Yeah, well, again, and also a player that epitomizes what Coach Campbell said. You want people who love to play the game of football, people who are committed to it, committed to their teammates. And that's all Mike Rose has ever been. From Iowa State being his first, major offer, he was going to go to Ball State and comes here and becomes a freshman All-American and has been playing like an All-American, as you said, ever since. Just as clutch a player as you'll find in a guy who Campbell talks about elite preparation a lot, and he talked about it with Breece Hall this week. I know Mike Rose has it too, to the point where he nitpicks every missed tackle he has, even though he does what he does so well and so consistently that every little blemish, man, he's going to pick away at that and make it better.
A couple more things to get to here before we log off and get the rest of our coverage done on CycloneFanatic.com. But really quick, want to give a quick shout out to our friends at Authentic Brand. Authentic Brand is more than just your source for official Cyclone gear. With an amazing team of designers, Authentic Brand can custom manufacture polo shirts, jackets, caps, bags, and beyond for your team or small business. Check them out online at authentic-brand.com. Look authentic, feel authentic, be authentic. Like I said, 2 more things I think to get to. Really quick, we've talked a little bit about what Kene Nwangwu has done so far this season. There can't be a backup running back in the Big 12 that has been as impactful to his team as what Kene has so far this season. I think maybe LD Brown down at Oklahoma State would probably be the only one that would even be close. But Kene tonight with another huge play on the kickoff return early in the second half after Baylor was able to kick a field goal to stretch their lead to 14. He comes down, gets a 69-yard kick return. 2 plays later, the Cyclones go in and score. And, after everything that kid has been through in his career at Iowa State, to see him making impact plays in his senior season has been really fun. And that's a guy that I think is really getting an opportunity to put his talents on display for the first time in his career.
Yeah, and as Campbell said, 3 real game-changing plays this season, from a long run in one game, 2 kick returns, and you're right. How pivotal was that? The Cyclones were starting to turn things around a bit, and man, he just found a way to get down that sideline. And even though Baylor eventually scored, like we talked about earlier, him running down a possible and probable pick 6, except for somebody his speed, that gave him a chance to hold momentum at bay a little bit that Baylor built in the first half. So, yeah, he's playing his best football. The main thing is he's able to be out there and be healthy. So that's, you couldn't ask for a guy devoted to the program, a guy who's had to rehab. That's always something you'd like to see.
Absolutely. Last thing, the Cyclones going into a bye week now before they've got a huge game coming up in 2 weeks against Kansas State, who lost today to Oklahoma State, their second loss in Big 12 play, but still a team that's right there in the mix too. Thinking that they can make a run at the Big 12 title game. I mean, I think that this bye week comes at a perfect time for Iowa State, where you get an opportunity to get some guys healthy, get some guys some rest. Brees Hall with 31 carries tonight. Probably want to be able to get him some good treatment and give him maybe a couple off days where he can get his body ready for this final run, because this last 3-game stretch here coming up is going to be as big as any 3-game stretch in the history of Iowa State football. Like I said, in sole possession of first place in the Big 12 and an opportunity to make a run at the Big 12 title game in about a month and a half.
Absolutely, and as Coach Campbell often says, again, the margin of error is razor slim. I mean, Texas and Oklahoma back up at 4-2. We got K-State there. West Virginia plays good football. I mean, they're in. You slip up. I mean, you're right back into that. You know, we're going to hear a lot of talk about controlling your own destiny, and I know Campbell doesn't really want to talk that way, and I understand it, because you control your own destiny if you play your best football or you find a way to win on a weekly basis. And so far, the Cyclones have been able to do that, other than the hiccup, the tough one against Oklahoma State. So, as you said, biggest 3-week stretch in program history in terms of competing for a league title here, and the circumstances and everything too. It's just so huge, and it's going to be interesting to see what they can do with the bye week. Get ready for a Wildcats team that's tough as nails, doesn't beat itself, and usually finds ways to capitalize on quote unquote luck, which they generally conjure up themselves.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in to the Cyclone Fanatic postgame report. We'll have plenty more coverage coming to you here soon on CycloneFanatic.com. Chris has already gotten the Instant Reaction podcast, so you can find that on the Cyclone Fanatic podcast feed. Thanks again to Carl Chevrolet for being our presenting sponsors. We'll talk to you guys again soon.